Well, hello there. Happy afternoon. It's Scott Harris from Brown Harris Stevens. Back again. Guess who's back? Um, from Brown Harris Stevens and the Harris residential team. I wanted to talk today. There is so much to talk about in the world of real estate, even sitting in my home office on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I wanted to talk about how closings and listings are being affected by, as I like to say, El Corona. And I wanted to tell you, a few little details. So even in the best of times, technology is incredibly helpful to our business. And at the same time, it's got kind of what I would call an interesting and ugly underbelly as it relates to listings. So um, some sellers might love it, but some sellers might not, and I'll tell you what's going on. So we bring a property to market, and then for some reason or another, currently the reason would be the current Coronapalooza that's going on in the world, and people can't actually see apartments or townhouses. But in other situations, it might just be there's a distraction, there's something going on. You have the apartment on the market for 6 months and it didn't sell, and now you're going to regroup and go back on the market in a little while with the same broker, perhaps, or perhaps with another. What will happen in these downtimes is that technology and sort of scouring for information often will end up where sellers' cell phone numbers are out in the world, and brokers will do traditional ways of getting in touch with sellers, like they'll write a letter to a property that's off the market and say to the seller, hey, Mr. Seller, I saw that your apartment is off the market. I'm great. I'm amazing. I can actually help you get the apartment sold. What do you say? Give me a call. If they have their cell number, I've heard from lots of sellers that brokers will actually call, or let's say some team in an office will get on the phone and cold call sellers whose properties are off and the same thing, but they've reached out to their cell and they've said, hey, Mr. Seller, I think that you should hire this new company. And sellers, I've heard, are a little put off by being kind of reached out to on their cell phones. It can be a little intrusive or surprising if there's no relationship there. Alternatively, text messages have started to be a thing where sellers are getting text messages on their phone. Hey, I want to buy your property, or hey, I know some buyers, or things like that. Now, fast forward to today, where sellers are taking their apartments off not because they want to, or because the apartment's not selling after a few months, but because of, hello, what's going on today? And there was a recent ruling. Let me step back real quick and say that if I've taken an apartment off the market with a seller in the last year or so, I've actually warned them, hey, by the way, when we take this off the market, you can expect to get flooded with people who are interested in, who say that they want to sell your apartment for you and that they're going to do this amazing job, et cetera, et cetera. And I've found that to be the case, that people are aggressively soliciting sellers in that way. Now, today, there's been something official that said, look, if you've taken your apartment off the market, that brokers cannot reach out to sellers to solicit them and say, hey, I'm going to do a good job. I mean, never mind that it's sort of in weird, I don't want to say it's in poor taste, but I mean, it's in poor taste. Let's just call it what it is. To do that today. I've had lots of conversations with sellers who'd be delighted to sell their apartments today if we were legally allowed to be showing apartments. The other thing, which is not really related, but it's not totally on this point, but it is related, where if you take, you have brokers who actually will solicit sellers whose apartments are on the market, not even that they've taken them off temporarily, but will actually either on purpose or by accident reach out to a seller and say, well, your apartment hasn't sold and I can do a good job. And look, I've been doing this for 17 years. I truly believe that the brokerage community works much better, even in New York, which a lot of people who watch this may be thinking, they're interested in real estate, they're watching it from their couch, their house in Kentucky or West Virginia or Alaska or wherever, and they just have fun learning about New York City real estate, which is great. And even that New Yorkers are somehow, even brokers, that this is terribly cutthroat. I've never experienced, that's not true. I rarely experience the real negative side of residential brokerage. I find that brokers are generally, we all want the same thing. We want to put a deal together, help someone find a home, and help sellers move forward in their lives and find a buyer who will love their apartment just as much as the sellers did when they found it. So it always surprises me when I do see this sort of misbehavior on the part of brokers, because it's so incredibly short-sighted. Like, why would I want to reach out to a seller who's in an agreement with a broker? Why would I want to reach out to that seller to badmouth another broker and say, like, why don't you consider hiring me? I find it in poor taste, and I also think it's not nice, but it's also, I don't think, helpful. It doesn't give a good reputation to the brokerage community, and of course, at the end of the day, it's against the rules that most brokers have signed up for in the Real Estate Board of New York, and it just gives everyone a bad reputation as a broker. And I just think that that's interesting. But in this moment, when we're just trying to provide value, try to help you see what's going on in the marketplace, that they have to issue a ruling telling brokers don't solicit sellers whose properties are temporarily off the market due to essentially the worst thing that's happened in at least the last 12 years, if not the last 50 years. Nothing like this has ever really taken place, in the sense that where an entire market is non-functional, is on pause. The fact they have to issue a ruling like that is upsetting. But look, I guess people can get a little desperate, but I just think in the sense of what can you be doing in today's market while you're thinking about how to grow your business when all of this is over. I have to think that talking about all the things you can do and putting out content and adding to the world far exceeds reaching out to sellers who are super disappointed about their properties not selling. I think that is not the right strategy. I think the best thing you can do is to focus on what you're good at, what makes you unique in the marketplace, and then let the chips fall. But I think things like this, creating content and talking about what's going on, is a far more productive, creative way to spend your days. So that's really it today. I just wanted to focus on that. There are a zillion other things about how listings are being impacted. We could talk about closings are being delayed right now because people can't get together to close. Some closings are happening virtually, and I think some managing agents who are very who are I don't want to say stuck, but perhaps very tied to old processes and old ways of doing business, who have not yet embraced new technology. I think a lot of managing agents are going to have to take a look at how they run their businesses from a paperwork standpoint, from a virtual standpoint. I think New York State in general will very likely give the green light to some of the practices that are commonplace already all over the country in terms of how people at the closing table, quote unquote, how they close. Things in California are far more streamlined. New York is sort of in the dark ages. So I think that this is an opportunity for people to realize that what's not working about their processes, and I think there's no exception to closings right now in New York. Never mind that any new development that has closings, if the construction industry is on pause as well, that will delay closings and delay, which is going to be frustrating for buyers who already signed a contract to buy something because they know they're ready for what's next, and they're simply like looking over the hedge at their new, beautiful, renovated apartment or soon to be finished apartment, and they can't do it. They can't close. They can't buy it yet because it's not ready. I'm very grateful. We did a renovation at the end of last year that finished up, and thank God it's done. I think anybody who has completed a renovation who gets to actually be in the space that they're in, that they were just renovated, I think are pretty grateful for having that. But stay the course, everybody. I hope every day, and I'll keep this stuff coming. I just there's never-ending stream of information about what's going on in the real estate market and how people are coping and managing, and ultimately I think will grow through all of this. So have an awesome day. Talk to you later. Bye.